So how many people have watched Susan Boyle perform on YouTube? The answer is an astonishing 286 million.
Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's right, OK? Since she first appeared on Britain Exploits the Mentally Challenged last month, close to 300 million people have listened to Susan Boyle on internet. And now the papers tell us she's on the verge of cracking up. 0207 173 5555 is the number if you can tell me who's to blame for this potentially tragic situation. And while you're dialing, we're going to hear what Deborah Harditson-Coley and Amanda Lamb have to say. 17 million of you are expected to tune in tomorrow night to see Susan take on a bunch of other Muppets in the final of a TV talent show. Acts include Stavros Flatley, who dance, and a man who can play the saxophone. Amazing. Susan is 48 and has never kissed a boy. She was starved of oxygen at birth. She was called Simple Susan at school. Now, apparently, she's having problems coping with all the attention. If today's papers are to be believed, Boyle is stressed out by her instant fame. Who wouldn't be? While TV bosses are considering pulling her from the final in a desperate act of self-publicity. Sorry, my mistake, because they're sensitive souls who fear she may have a breakdown on stage. Now, if you, like me, have never seen Britain Exploits the Mentally Challenged, here's singing sensation Susan Boyle in all her glory. But just before we do, I had taken the precaution of earplugs for...
I've never heard her sing.
There's some for you, Deborah, if you want them. Eric, you got earplugs for the audience? They tell me she's a great singer. I have to say, I disagree. But here she is, singing Memory. Now, no one likes the smarty pants. But I told you this was all wrong a month ago, that Simon Cowell and co were exploiting this woman, how the whole charade shows the ugly side of human nature. I'll say again, the only reason there's any interest in Boyle's frankly shrieky voice is because so many of you think it's amazing that something like that can come out of someone like her. Shame on you. And now you've all had a good laugh, now you've been amazed the chickens are coming home to roost. The party, I suspect, is almost over for Susan Boyle. What if she does crack up then? Whose fault will that be? Amanda.
Well, that's the first time I've heard her sing. I'm like you, I've not watched any of it, and I'm pretty gobsmacked. I mean, she's not got that great a voice at all, and, you know, medieval times, you used to get the village idiot that people used to laugh at and throw things at and take great amusement.
A couple of hundred years ago, we used to go to mental hospitals, charge admission to go to mental hospitals to laugh at people.
And it worries me because here is a woman who, up until now, has lived a relatively quiet life in a relatively small town in Scotland, and all of a sudden, she's been catapulted into this huge arena for us all to sort of gawp at and go, oh my God, she's amazing. If she didn't look the way she looks, would she have even made it to the final? If she'd have looked ordinary, if she'd have been pretty, probably not. And I think that I feel really sorry for her because if she does win, and I would assume that she probably is going to win.
So it's not her fault for entering, then?
I don't think it's her fault for entering, no. I think it's the media's fault for making it become what this thing is.
Everybody blames the media for everything.
But hang on, it's also, I think, the fact that it's gone global, hasn't it, because of the internet and is it Ashton Kutcher that put her, or Demi Moore that did something, and so I think because it's
Demi Moore is being
so
flown
huge
in Simon Cowell's private jet to watch the show live. So there are a lot of people making an awful lot of money out of this.
Absolutely,
as well.
and I feel desperately sorry for her because I think it's wrong. It's a circus act and it's not right.
I'm close to tears. I just think what an utter waste of time. I've never watched it. It was the first time I've seen her. I mean, Lily Allen. I Twitter. Lily got a really hard time for saying on Twitter that she didn't think Susan Boyle was a very good singer. I'm kind of wondering why anyone's bothered disagreeing with Lily. I think Lily's absolutely right. Susan Boyle is not a great singer. It is the freak show.
How come? Oh, I was going to say, how many? Why have 280 odd million
it's
people
because,
watched
you
it
see,
on the
the thing is,
internet?
I refuse to believe this. I think there's a theory in television, so kind of the academics of television talk about the hypodermic theory, which is if you watch it, it directly affects you. Now, if you ask the British public, if you put on a public execution, right, you would have the biggest viewing figures you've ever had. Ergo, it's populist, we should be doing it. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when television used to be about people with genuine talent. People like, you know, the Attenboroughs of this world, broadcasters like Andrew Marr, people that knew what they were talking about, doing great things. So David Dimbleby. I think, actually, this links into our last story. We are leading surrogate lives. This is our community by proxy. We all feel we should know Susan Boyle. The fact that we don't bother to get our front doors and meet our neighbours. You know, because I'll tell you, there are plenty of freaks out there. If you want to meet them, you know, freakish people that can sing badly. You know, there's one that lives around the corner from me.
All right.
But listen, that's not fair on Peter Andre. He's been having a hard time.
Deborah, what do you make of it all? Have you been glued to your screens these past months?
I haven't, but I did actually watch it on YouTube to see what it was all about. And actually, what I did, somebody said to me, do this. Close your eyes. Don't look and listen. And I thought, no, that's okay. So there is this horrible thing that between the visual disconnecting with the voice and the fascination that is with it. I don't blame her for doing this, because I actually think, given an opportunity in life that you thought you would never have, why wouldn't somebody go for it? You cannot criticise her for that. But somebody down the line must have looked at her and thought, will she be able to cope with this environment? And the question I have is, if they ask that question, why did they think she could? And therefore, when we're now in this situation where she feels like she isn't coping with this environment, so it's actually quite helpful because there's lots of headlines, there's lots of news going on around it. It almost feels to me like there's a... And I love Simon Cowell, because he's very honest and he's very direct, but he does feel to me like this kind of, right, now I've achieved everything else. Let's see if I... Now, this is almost impossible. Let's see if I can achieve this.
It's going to make money for people, isn't it?
But the most telling thing you said, Deborah, and you go absolutely on the money, is you close your eyes and it was okay. I don't want to live in a country that celebrates mediocrity. I want to, you know, I want to live in a country where, you know, we used to be called Great Britain.
But also, what's going to happen?
Where's that gone?
Okay, guys, we've had our say. Let's throw it open to you. Who's to blame if Susan Boyle is having a tough time out there? Does anybody care? Kirsty.
We have Rita on line 1.
Rita, good morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
Hi there. What do you think, Rita?
I think that it's a scam. I don't think that she's having a nervous breakdown at all. I think she's a very, very canny woman.
Right. This is despite the fact she was starved of oxygen at birth and was known as Simple Susan.
Well, she doesn't look very simple to me.
Oh, you can tell from looking. Right, OK.
She went off to America and spoke up for herself over there, and she seems to be really enjoying the publicity. I think what's happened now, she has seen other talent on the show, the saxophone man, and Stavros, and she's thinking that she's not the winner of the race now.
Right.
Because with her
like the
first
dances.
she did sing it quite well, but that Memories was absolutely disgusting.
Right.
So,
Thanks very much, Rita. You're a barrel of sympathy. It's coming through the airwaves. I can feel it. It makes me feel good. Let's have another one, please, Kirsty.
Caitlin's on line 3.
Caitlin. Caitlin, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. So who's to blame if it's going wrong?
Well, I've seen in the last couple of weeks, I'm afraid I've got to admit to sort of looking at the Sun, and they've just have some really horrible stories, like saying, you know, that she'd opened the door and she hadn't got pedicured feet, and the way it was written, it's just really putting down her. And it's only in the last couple of days that it's sort of been suggested that she's weak. Now, you know, since she's...
That's a very sharp observation, Kate. You're bang on. It's just the last few days that the worm has turned, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't... she seems like a simple lady. We've had talent shows for 40 or 50 years now, and I don't think we used to treat people like we do now. Actually, the clip you showed of her singing wasn't her best bit, and... You know, so...
Either you're a singer or you're not, in my view. If you're a singer, you can sing, and if you're not, you can't. So I appreciate the call, Caitlin. Thank you. Let's have another.
We have Joe on line 4.
Joe, good morning.
Good morning.
Who's to blame if it's going wrong for Susan Boyle, Joe?
I actually think it's the fact that the show doesn't have a support structure to actually counsel and guide people into going into quick fame. You know what I mean? They just kind of, from the moment that she went into her...
But they didn't know. They didn't know, Joe. They didn't know that she was going to be such a big hit on the internet. It has caught everybody by surprise.
For people that they think that will go and they put them through to the semi-finals, they should have a support structure for them behind them, a guidance, counselling and stuff like that. I think what's been happening is he's had no...
By the way, I think they do get counselling. I mean, Piers Morgan has been looking after
it. You know, if she wins, or even if she doesn't win, and she has to go back to that little town in Scotland, what's going to happen to her then? Or if she
I'll tell you what, in 6 months it'll
be
be Susan Who.
Exactly,
okay?
But then what happens
Just
to
like
Susan
Peter Andre Who. And that is your lot for the day and for the week, I'm afraid. No time for any more of your calls. Well, many, many thanks if you did call in, even if we didn't agree with each other. Can't do it all the time. Huge thank you to Deborah for giving up her time this morning. I have to say, I'll flag it up again. Common Sense Rules is the book. It's shops on Thursday. More Dragon's Den coming this summer. And we've got Hardy to thank, one day only. Next time, more.
Anytime, sir.
Amanda, I love you in the rollers. Next time we'll share with you. Give it up for our panel, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, next week, Stephen K. Amos, Janet Ellis form the panel. Special guests included the wonderful actor that is James Dreyfus, Blues, Anthony Costa, and Suggs from Madness. Have a great weekend. Don't get sunburnt. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.